Giant Studios. It's Stormgate.
Okay.
And today
okay.
we don't just get the chance to get some exclusive first look at
starting the video.
Gameplay,
let's go.
But we're also joined by Frost Giant's president and game director Tim
Frost
Campbell,
Giant, let's
here
go.
To tell us exactly how
Tim
Stormgate
Campbell,
will delight
tell me.
all minds, artificial or otherwise. Thanks so much for joining us, Tim.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Now, I've been following Stormgate for years, but for those of us who haven't, what is Stormgate?
Stormgate is our modern take on the classic real-time strategy game formula. It's
Gameplay.
what we think of as a spiritual successor to franchises
Look how
like
clear
Warcraft,
this is.
StarCraft, Command and Conquer. And real-time strategy games are the type of game where you can control an entire battlefield. So this classic RTS formula includes harvesting resources, building sprawling bases, commanding huge armies on the battlefield.
What is it about Stormgate that's new?
We believe that the RTS genre is something that should be enjoyed by players of all skill levels.
Big armies.
So we've put a lot of effort into making sure that Stormgate feels good, whether you're a pro with high technical skill and you love competitive play, or whether it's something that you just want to be able to relax with and experience a story.
Now, Tim, I understand that you brought, for all of us, but in particular for me, a present to show today. What are you going to show, Tim?
We are going to show gameplay from the pre-alpha of Stormgate.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that we are big believers in at Frost Giant. We want to share this current state of the game today.
Let's
pre-alpha gameplay. Let's go.
Oh, Tim,
Stormgate.
I'm so excited. And right away, this looks like an RTS.
Okay, we have the resources here.
This is the classic start to a 1v1 match. What you're seeing here is the human faction as they're sending workers out to harvest resources. They're starting to construct
UI,
buildings.
actually.
They actually build them by 3D printing them from the ground up. And you can see them now starting to train troops so they can have an army that goes out in the field to fight.
Yeah, and I mean, right here, we see in the corner coming up, this looks like a scout unit.
Scouting
Yeah,
dogs?
that is literally a cybernetic dog with laser eyes. It is called the Scout, okay? It's designed for early game. It's a unique unit to the human faction.
Right.
And you can see him now running through the
This
base
looks
trying
so
to
good,
see
actually.
what information he can find out about his enemy.
Yeah, I mean, scouting and information is such an important part of
There's the Lancer, the melee
It
unit.
really is, and this is something that we've embraced early game. The Scout unit has been designed so it can actually sense units beyond its sight radius. So it's
awesome.
especially useful early on.
So we're heading into what looks like the first engagement of this game. What are we seeing?
Well, what we're seeing right here is the Red Scout getting surprised by a group of blue troops.
They go
coming
through the trees.
Light Force, which is the new train type and a twist on the tactical battlefield here.
And how do these light forests work?
The Light Force lets smaller units move through them. They have concealment. It's allowed Blue to raid Red's base, in which case Red is barely getting a turret built with their speed building from their workers. It's another human faction
Lots
advantage.
of workers were building
And
a single
they're
turret,
about
by
to
the way.
pop out a couple extra defenders
That's
here
another
from their mech base.
mechanic.
So we got these huge mechs, and I mean, just visually, it looks like they are countering the heck out of these blue infantry, but can these red mechs fit through the forest?
No, they're too big to go through. They're heavy units. They're designed to use their chain guns to go through groups of enemies, but they can't fit through the Light Force, which Blue knew and used to his advantage.
Okay, so we're in mid-game. This is normally where you make some big tech decisions. What's Red up to?
You're seeing Red commit to a tech path that gives them big battlefield
Okay, this is the
mechs and
evac,
air
the
units
flying
like the
transport
Seaback.
unit.
And it looks like they're just dropping right on top of Blue, who is killing a chicken? What's the chicken there, Tim?
Yeah, that's a giant chicken with a Viking helmet on it. Use your imagination. Stormgate's in pre-alpha, and that's art that we haven't gotten to yet, but imagine it as a big
Wait, plus
Mad Max
50
raider.
for killing the
Nice,
chicken.
the threatening placeholder art for now. And oh, I see Red diving onto Blue, and hey, picking back up into the air transport. That's some classic high-level micro.
It is, and it's really important for
They're both
Stormgate
microing
that
with the
we maintain a
evacs.
high skill ceiling so that players can express themselves on the battlefield by maneuvering and how they interact with the battlefield.
And here we have the final fight of the game, and it looks like Blue is coming up against those mechs. Red is trapped on the other side of the trees.
So you can destroy the
wait,
trees?
They can blast through them now? And Blue's dodging these enormous shots, and we can also see Blue swarming in from both sides. This is not looking good.
By the way,
for
it's TLO
Red.
versus
No, it's
Monk
pretty grim.
in the top side. I
Red
just
is
missed
on
that.
the ropes right here, and they've been outmaneuvered. They're caught in the corner here between two different forces coming in with a mobile pincer.
Man, and
GG.
of course,
There's the GGs.
the most classic ending to an RTS game, GG. Get Tastosis on that stat. Outside of 1v1, what's coming up for Stormgate?
What you've seen today is just the tip of the iceberg.
What's coming for Stormgate?
So
Let's
much
hear
more
that.
in store. We're going to be revealing a bunch of stuff about Stormgate the rest of this year. We're introducing new modes. We have a 3-player versus AI cooperative mode. We have team-based competitive modes. We're going to be sharing information about our storyline and campaign. We have new factions beyond the humans that you just saw today.
But Tim, what if I want to play the game right now?
If you want to play the game as soon as possible, you wish list Stormgate on Steam and you go to playstormgate.com to sign up for the beta. We're starting closed testing in July.
Once again, go to Steam and wishlist Stormgate Tim, thank you so
Okay,
much
so
again
just
for joining us.
wishlisting
Not
this
just to talk
game
about
on Steam
the 1v1 footage
is the
you
best.
shared, but the future content plans of Stormgate. It makes the RTS players' dreams come true.
So we can see the two primary resources. So this is like a gold mine or something. There's like the typical gas geyser, but it doesn't look like it's gas geyser. And looks like this player is making a building right next to it, not on top of it, which makes me think that you are going to be gathering these resources to that building, right? They're not going to be coming in. I suppose like you can even make a building here, I suppose, and you're going to be gathering the resources like from a long distance towards that building. And the scouting unit is quite interesting. It looks like you either start with a scouting unit or you produce it very early on. But I think you kind of start. And this is the barracks, I suppose. This is the first Lancer unit, the melee unit that is going to be a little bit tanky, which is really nice to see. This is the unit I will be looking forward to play with. And the scout is quite fast, so the melee unit is not able to catch up to it. Okay, let's move to the other set of gameplay. Now, this is interesting. This is one of the mechanics that I was talking about in my first video, the new mechanic that is not available in StarCraft 2, which is like gathering a lot of workers to build one building, right? Here in Stormgate, we can see that this building is being built with a lot of workers at the same time, and that's why they can even build a turret in the middle of a fight. They lose some workers for that, but looks like they've been like empowered, these workers. They got like a movement speed or something, so there's another new mechanic right there. And the turret has been built. Another new mechanic is all, well, somewhat new mechanic, I suppose. Units can walk through the trees, right? We could see these mercenaries, or whatever they're called, the gunmen, could walk through the trees, and they can escape through the trees as well, while the big guys cannot walk through the trees. So there's another terrain mechanic there for Stormgate. And yeah, the big guys cannot move through. So, like, it looks like it's not kind of like the bushes in StarCraft 2, but they definitely feel like a different role. I'm curious to see how this is going to work out. Another thing. Oh, this is the resource I was talking about. Okay, this is the evac. What I know about the evac is that it's going to be a very easily accessible air unit for the human resistance. And I think it also has a little bit of a pickup range, somewhat similar to the War Prism. And we can see like a dash or something to stun the unit. I wonder if it's only on singular unit. I think it looks like on a singular unit. And look at this, look at this. The guy destroyed a chicken, and for the chicken he got +50 and +0. So is this some kind of like a creep camping? Something like that? For like killing some units that are not your opponent's units gives you minerals? I don't know what I'm gonna call them minerals, whatever. Minerals and possibly gas. We can also see this thing here, like a purple orb. I wonder if this is something to pick up and possibly get you some kind of advantage, maybe watchtower, or I don't know, just anything, right? Any kind of buff possibly to the unit picking this up, I think. Now we can see the pickup micro with the... Okay, so they both dashed, but it looks like it's only a singular stun. And now the pickup... Yeah, it's look at this. The units were here, so there is a pickup range somewhat similar to the War Prism one. And now this guy is trying to micro the units. There's like a big explosion as well. Like this guy, the Atlas, I think it's called. But it is like small units fighting big mech units. And there's like a healer in here. So similar to Bio versus Mech, I would say. And now this is again the mechanic that you can use the dash for the stun. You destroy the terrain, and now all units can move through here. The small units could have moved anyway. One thing to note as well is this area. Like this is like the big area of effect damage from Atlas. And you can see where this is going to land. Somewhat similar to the I think Ravager shots. You can see these areas in here, so you can kind of dodge, but you can immediately see the lower lethality of the units. The fights take a long time, but they're not taking a very long time. So far, my impressions about the gameplay are quite positive from what I've seen. Remember, this is all pre-alpha footage. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think for the first showing of the gameplay, this at the very least looks interesting to me. And I'm looking forward to experimenting with the gameplay of the game where I'll be playing in the July 2023, where the pre-alpha is going to be playable for the first time. I will not be able to show you the gameplay from the alpha, at least not for what I know right now. But I'll be able to generally talk about it on my streams and in my content in general. So if you want to look for more Stormgate content, and if you're excited about that game, make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow my content, and we'll be talking more about that. Okay, so there's a little bit of things that we can talk about here. First, look at the Stormgate's two main resources. Luminate is a primary resource, temporary visual gold mouse. So I guess the gold thing that we saw is going to be the Luminite, or Luminate. Used to pay for nearly everything, can be mined by 12 bobs. Bob workers, see below, before severe diminishing returns. Therium, secondary resource, temporary visual gray, so the glowing green, the thing that I saw that the 4 workers can mine, I suppose. Mostly used to pay for advanced units and structures, so like gas geyser, I suppose. Gradually spreads and enriches when unmined, providing players with strategic options about where and when they should expand. I wonder what enriches means. Does it mean there's more of it? Or does it mean you mine more from it when it's enriched? I guess that's a different mechanic as well. Therium appears in various forms that each have different gameplay mechanisms, including exposed patches and underground veins. Different mechanisms for our resources. Now this is interesting, actually. I'm curious what this actually means. And human units. We have Bob, the worker unit, harvest resources, blah blah blah. Repairs. Multiple Bob units can work together to build a structure. This is the mechanic that I was talking about. The scout, the robot dogs that we saw with freaking laser eyes, have heightened senses that can even identify the presence of enemies still concealed by the fog of war. So they can kind of like smell the units in the fog of war, I suppose. With a warning howl, scouts can activate advanced ocular scanners to temporarily see further, including through forests that would normally block their vision. So there's a special ability to get yourself a little bit more vision. Lancer, the blade-swinging frontline soldier with long reach. The Lancer Shield's upgrades gives the ability to shrug off damaging blows. What they said in the VIP Summit is a little bit more detailed than this. They basically would work a little bit of like an old Immortal, where they can tank a lot of big gun damage. That's how I understood it. So they're going to be like the tank melee units, somewhat similar to the Zealot, but specifically designed to withstand the big guns. Exo, a versatile soldier armed with a reliable rifle. I guess this is the melee, the Marine that we saw. Can pick up the double time upgrade to temporarily increase its movement speed. If it shoots during this period, it fires 2 shots instead. Then it reverts to normal speed. So basically you get it like a double shot when you use it. So you can like move forward, double shot, and then move back. But then you have normal speed after shooting, I suppose. Medtech was basically the medic. This is interesting. The adept training can unleash a swarm of nanobots to either attack an enemy or heal an injured ally. So you can choose between healing or dealing damage with the unit. I think that's a cool, interesting mechanic that we don't really see in StarCraft 2. You cannot use transfuse on enemy units to hurt them. You can only heal your units. That's cool. Atlas, that was the BFG weapon that we saw. Does some friendly fire, not too much to read about. Evac transport picks up drop of allied units, including deployed Atlas, to reposition, blah blah blah. Vulcan, it was the big guy with the gun. The mech, this mech, jump jets, upgrade to allow and reposition in combat, can stun any enemies in its way. It says enemies, plural. But I only saw one singular stun. I wonder if it can be multiple enemies on the way. I'm not sure if we saw that. Clear the trees, we saw that. Fire piercing rounds through multiple units in a straight line, dealing damage to all of them. And I think what they also said in the gameplay is that the longer the Vulcan attacks, the higher attack speed it has. So kind of like a minigun. But it does start rather slow. And the structures. Control command accesses tier 2 units, tier 3 coming soon. So like a hive, layer hive kind of upgrade, I suppose. The command post can trigger an overcharge to Bob units, so to workers, to temporarily power them to combat systems, attack speed and armor. So this is what we saw when the guy was building multiple turrets as well. The habitats, like a supply depot, barracks, of course, mech bay, It's like a factory, Ethereum refinery, secondary resource drop-off. So this is what I was talking about. So it's not a gas geyser directly on the resource, but a building to return the resources to. Biokinetics labs, Lancer shields, so for upgrades, machine lab, more upgrades for mechanical and air units, and sentry turret, just a turret, something like that. So this is like the overview of the information, and more things coming, like the infernal host coming later. No mention there as well. Unreal Engine 5 built-in, Snowplay in there. Yeah, not really much more to say. Actually, a lot of information here. I'm curious. I wonder if this is all the units, but I don't think this is all units. This is just a few units that we saw in the gameplay, and the units that are comfortable sharing this with. I think in general, I liked how the game is going. I'm excited to see what's happening next with this game, and hopefully the future plans for Stormgate will be as exciting as this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.